two ways. We have the publisher sources, which are also known as newspapers, are desperate to subscribe to our API because if you imagine, even if you're a massive newspaper, you can only write so many stories. And yet, as the story unfolds across the world, there's thousands of pieces of content in different perspectives. Not only can we find all that content, but we can give you a semantic view of it. This is the good news, this is the bad news, this is the trend. And so, so people pay to subscribe to our API. I also believe that ultimately, highly contextualized, relevant product and services that you receive within the context of what you're interested in. I'm interested in bands, and U2's coming, and I've said I'm interested in U2, and U2's coming to my town, and I get an alert on my phone that says U2's coming to town. Do you want to buy tickets? Tickets are available. We feel that that's a big opportunity for us.
Can you elaborate more on the first answer for the revenue? You said that as far as
we have an API, an open API, but we limit the amount of calls that you can make in a given time period based on for commercial use.
Yeah.
So we have partners who want to use massively more.
Why are they using this? So what are they paying for?
For example,
creation of content for writers?
Hearst Corporation is one of our big partners, and they just launched 100 iPhone apps that allow you to follow individual sports figures like Tiger Woods or actors. And all those apps are powered by our API. That's an example. They also launched a vertical website called lmk.com that has a college football vertical and a reality TV vertical. We have a relationship with CanWest, Canada.com, and they want what's trending in the Canadian marketplace. So we understand what sources are skewed towards Canadian news and entities that are skewed toward Canadian news, so they want to do that to enhance, to allow people basically to follow a topic on Canada.com without having 100 editors running around curating it.
Yeah, you're improving the user experience.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
That sounds like the most compelling argument, actually,
But
to eliminate the need for curation.
it really is, because at the end of the day, we want you to be able to curate, but in the publishing industry, and quite frankly, we're, it's just where it's going, they'll eventually go there, is you can only do so much, right? I mean, I personally look at VentureWire, VentureBeat, TechFlash, Xconomy, if they're here, and VentureWire, et cetera, every morning. I would rather all that stuff get filtered for I only want to know about semantic search companies, discovery companies, and social media companies. So just give me that from all those sources. And give it to me in an intelligent package where I don't have to filter through all the noise. I don't have to look at the TechCrunch email and go through 20 headlines to find the one or two that are relevant to me. And so what do? I made my guys build the Everything Tech iPhone app so that I could just do that. And that's that's really, I think, compelling is you don't have to either only get one publication's point of view, or you don't have, if you're a publication, you don't have to have thousands and thousands of editors running around curating the experience.
One other question on the user experience side of things. Let's say this starts taking off and then I get really accustomed to it.
It's taking off already.
Right. I'm sorry. Let's say that everybody understands how cool this is, instead of most of the people currently do. When I'm consuming content, I sometimes like to be able to bump into things that I'm not expecting, that I'm not searching for.
Right.
And if I'm using this, just like if you're using Google Reader or whatever, the chances of that happening are almost non-existent.
Yeah, actually, I would argue the opposite. We're quite the opposite of Google Reader or Google News in the sense that did you know that that Barack Obama was connected to Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead in some way?
No, and granted, that's very cool, and it could promote me to look a little bit more into it, but it's very different from like you were mentioning the timeliness of news. It's very different from a headline that might be completely unrelated that you'll find on the sidebar if you're reading Wall Street Journal or The Economist or whatever. Right. And I find that's a really useful reason that I go to those sites, is so I can encounter things that are outside the sphere of my focus.
Right. So what we're trying to do is add that serendipitous discovery to that. We do that by exposing both generally at the sort of topical level as well as at the individual article level the intersection of the different players in the story. So what we do is we cluster this topic, we cluster all the information that's closely related within that graph, as well as all the players. And so what that does is exposes things that are non-intuitive, like why was Barack Obama related to Bob Weir, or so here's Roy Oswald trade rumors. All of a sudden, okay, you can expose. Now you probably would have sung this, but what's up with Jake Peavy or Brad Ausmus? Oh, those are probably other pitchers that might be getting traded. And the reason you can do that, or the reason that semantics do that better, is because knowing the subject, verb, object pairing, and really understanding sort of what it means, what's happening, you can actually make a determination whether or not there's really a connection there, or it's just another keyword that's showing up. It's a difference between why, if you're looking at Yahoo Finance and suddenly you're reading an article about the banking meltdown, and there's a related content to Google. Why? Because probably at the end of that article it says, oh, by the way, Google's earnings are being announced tomorrow, right? And that Google keyword gets popped up. Google's a popular thing, and so it's going to show up in recommended content. That's not discovery. That's just search engine spam, right? What we're able to do is filter out the Google and find what that is really about. Look for related connections and recommend those and expose those for discovery. But yeah, we've quite frankly struggled along to figure out what's the balance between serendipitous discovery and highly relevant results.
And maybe it doesn't matter.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
Just go to your site when you want to have that highly focused.
Yeah.
Last question.
Oh, what about the blogs? How do they fit into the, are they in the commercial?
Yeah, we're fairly agnostic about content, with the exception of with Twitter, we try and bias towards tweets that have links that we can crawl through and actually understand the content behind them, because just the average tweet with no link doesn't really, we consider blogs just as relevant, assuming they show up in the relevancy algorithm, as anything. We give, there's really three types of credibility ratings we give. We have a general credibility of a source of content. We have a credibility of that source of content within a content domain, meaning ESPN.com is going to be more credible within sports than in politics, for example. And then we will have a relevancy credibility ranking that a user can assign to sources within their own program channels.
Wow. You can take Fox News and just.
See, I don't like it. Less of it. I mean, if you think about it, at the end of the day, that we want to be, or what we would aspire to be, would be Pandora for content.
Yeah.